Hey YouTube! Welcome back to Ruin Scooter Do. I'm Scooter and today we are going to make DIY braided headbands. They end up looking something like this. Made a couple before. This one has lasted me about 5 years. I put it through the washing machine. I wear it outside. It's really held up. So hopefully if you decide to make this project, it will too, and I'm going to walk you through that now. So what you need is 3 different types of fabric to make an interesting braid. I like to use 2 kind of stretchy fabrics and then 1 kind of stiffer cotton fabric. This is just a fat quarter I had left over. This is an old tank top that had stains, and this is an old t-shirt that had holes. So use what you have, make sure the colors are kind of complementary, and just have fun with it. Once you have your fabrics picked out, what you should do is cut 2 strips from each type of fabric, and each strip should be about the circumference of your head and maybe an inch width. Now we'll cut fabric. How do you measure? Go around your head. Ooh, the fat quarter is almost exactly my head. That works out nicely. If you have a rotary cutter and a mat, I suggest using it, but if you don't, freestyling works great on this project. One thing when you're cutting your fabric is you'll notice that I have little extra bits at the end. So if you want to pick out your fabric that you're going to make your little extra bit at the end off of, you go ahead and cut about a 3" by 1" rectangle out of it, and that'll be your kind of finishing touch, so to speak. And I am going to use this striped material for that. I like using the cotton fabric for that because it's a little stiffer and it holds up pretty nicely. And you'll need 2 of them, 1 for each side. So I did that, cut it in half. I now have 2 of them. Set those aside for later. Fold this up. On to our next piece of fabric. Measure it out. Let's see if I can go all the way around. No, it's just going to be a little too short. So I'm going to have to go lengthwise on this one. Armpit to end, that works. I guess you could also have taken your pre-cut one, set it down, and kind of measured, but where's the fun in that? All right, we got 2, 4, 2 to go. All right. So now we have our 6 strips of fabric, 2 of each type, and they're all about the same length, but they're not exact, and that's totally fine. And you're going to want to group them 1 of each type together. So pretty simple. I think you can see where we're headed if you're a braider. Set those aside, then we're going to take the 3 of these and line them up in the order that we want them to be. Make sure your right sides are up. Kind of layer that end. And then I just use a binder clip for this. Really simple, really low tech. Not the fanciest, but super effective. And then to braid it, I have old scrap wood that I have a screw into. It just gives me something to hold on to. I have literally held this in my mouth before and braided down. Whatever you have, whatever works for you, make it happen. Easy peasy, it's good to go. And then you just braid. Trying to keep your right side up when you're doing this because it will have a tendency to kind of curl. So on my stripe pattern, there's definitely a right side and a wrong side. And I'm trying to keep the darker, more patterned side up so that the headband ends up more vibrant. So once you finish your braid, just hold it off. I use a chip clip just to kind of keep it in place till I can get to the next step. If you want to go ahead and secure it with a little thread and needle, you can. I get to that step in a minute personally, and then you just move on to the next one. Okay, so I finished braiding each of my 2 braids, and I went ahead and did quick stitching at the end just so it would hold together for this, but you can see they're about the same length, which is perfect. And then all you want to do is kind of overlap each end so that they line up, and then test it around your head. Kind of estimate about how much length you think you need, because you're going to take this elastic and fill in the gap. So this went to about here on my head. You don't have to be exact because it's elastic, it will stretch. And then measure, give or take a little bit. That's almost halfway for this thing. This is just a Goodies elastic headband, by the way. So after you cut the elastic, take this side, hold that together. Give this a quick measure. You want it to go to about there. All right, I've got an idea of how far it's going. And really, it's elastic, it stretches, so you've got a little bit of leeway with this. Mine's gonna go about there. This is just extra, save that. You could probably get about 2 more headbands off of that. So again, take your strips, make sure they're right side up. Mine are. Then place the elastic between the 2 layers. Kind of right there. And then you're going to take your needle and your thread and you're going to stitch through all the layers. It can get a little hard. You might end up needing a thimble out. But just see what you can do. Okay, so I finished stitching up the first side. Just mimicked it over on the second side, making sure that the bottom layer is the bottom layer on both sides, top layer on both sides, stitching that elastic into the middle. Not doing any fancy stitches because I don't know any. And I'm just gonna knot this off here and we'll be good to go. After this, all we have left to do is that finishing step that I was talking about earlier, making it look kind of nice and clean. You're gonna cover up most of the stitching anyway, so it doesn't have to really look that great. Just has to be really secure. All right, there we go. Trim this off, throw it down, and it's all secure. Okay, so I have both sides stitched up, and for our little finishing touch, we're going to take the little strips that we cut earlier, kind of measure it out. I noticed that my sides here were really thick, so I just trimmed them up a little bit. If you do that, make sure you don't cut what you stitched. That's important. It'll all come undone. So then you take this and just kind of measure around. You want it to touch in the back and then kind of flatten out. I see that I have a little bit of extra here, so I'll just trim off a little bit here. There we go. That'll fit right around it nicely. It'll cover up all my ugly stitches, which is nice. And I'll end up making a nice little square. And to adhere it, I just use Stitch Witchery. It's great. It's super easy to use. You just have a hot iron. You cut a square that fits the area you need. I'm gonna do a couple, not layers of it, but I'm gonna do this side first. Kind of try and melt that on there before moving and rounding it up. So let's get that nice and even there. My iron's set on high per the instructions on the Stitch Witchery. I believe there's still some steam in there, which is good. And you want to press down on it, hold it for like 10 to 30 seconds because you're going to melt the adhesive to the fabric. Okay, I'm gonna let that up since I will be doing a bit more. Then I'm gonna add another piece right here on the top for where I fold it over. Don't want it hanging out the edges, so I keep going sideways. I'm going to fold that piece on top. And then I'm going to cut an extra piece here. It's going to go right on there. I'll hold these two pieces kind of together. There we go. Give it a quick hold. Start pushing it down. Pushing it down. There we go. Then push it all the way down. Hey Lola, you coming to help? Yeah. If your dog would like to help you, it's totally cool. All right, there we go. So I added the stitch witchery, just makes a nice little touch here on the side, covers up a lot of the ugly stitching, and then you just repeat that same thing over here. All right. Looks good, looks sealed up. Nice finished edges. And just give it a test out. And a cute little headband. All right, thank you so much for watching. We hope to have another video for you soon. As always, subscribe. And if you try this, leave us a comment down below. I would love to see how it worked out for you. Love to see any twists that you put on it. And just have a great day. All right, bye. Cut.